So
what have we got?
Well, so this is the console, and as I said, the console was built in Tennessee by R.A. Colby Builders in Johnson City, and the console is built expressly to my design. So there's it's evolved a little bit, of course, since more than a little bit since we got it. But basically, it's 9 divisions, and there's you might have seen on social media. I'm doing a little series about showing demonstrating the organ division by division. So you might want to link to that. But basically, it's a fairly traditional design in a way. The organ is basically founded on the 4-manual American classic sort of concept, where you have an unenclosed positive, grate, swell, and solo with mostly unenclosed pedal. The grate is, I'll show you, it's both enclosed and unenclosed, depending on what stop you're talking about. There's an unenclosed core to it, and then there's a secondary section which is enclosed in different divisions. But basically, it's a very straightforward concept that way. I actually wanted a strong presence of unenclosed and basic, core foundation type mixture work, mutations, choruses. There's really robust choruses in each division, in both the 3 principal divisions, and in the pedal. And then the organ expands a little bit outward in the bombard and the accompaniment and the swell and the pedal. So the 5th manual is the bombard organ. That's basically the home of the major theater organ chorus. And then the accompaniment is the enclosed division on manual 1, which shares manual 1 with the positive. They can be separated, but there are no floating divisions. So everything has a home division. There are home keyboard. There are 2 divisions on 1 and 2 divisions on 3. So that's kind of where one of the really interesting sections of the organ actually is that accompaniment division, because it's multiple identities in this case. It has the accompaniment is generally the name for the first clavier of the American theater organ, so it does serve an accompanimental role, but it's not intended to be exclusively a theater division, and nor is this a theater organ. It's not intended to be a theater organ. What the aesthetic is here is to combine, not necessarily equally. I mean, it's a classical organ. It falls into the category of the American symphonic organ, but it's laid out in such a way that it can do what its job is, which is to be a versatile organ that's generally intended for concert use and for radio and TV broadcasting, streaming, and recording. So it's kind of a recording organ in a way in the grand style, but because of that, it does have certain capabilities of the theater organ. It has some percussions. It has on the Oh yeah, well, we can get into it separately. But it has separate tremulants for each division, so that some of the divisions can contribute to the theater chorus. The accompaniment itself is divided into 4 subdivisions: foundation, vox, woodwind, and string division. So and then there are unifications. Obviously, the stops are color coded by division. So you can see here that for instance, that the string organ there is available on 1 tab. The swell, there are 2 swell divisions. The swell main is the typical classical, rather Aeolian Skinner influenced swell division on manual 3, and then the swell exotica is actually sort of a second string division. It's the softer stuff and some of the exotic stuff and some borrowing from the swell division so that those divisions can be separated out and played against each other. And then there are 2 pedal divisions. The main pedal division is the dark red tabs. That's all unenclosed and minimal unification. Independent reed chorus, 3 different mixtures, what you'd expect. Then the orchestral pedal is the pedal division, which is mostly unified from the rest of the organ, so it includes a lot of really interesting color reeds, lots and lots of 16-foot tone, many 16-foot string celestes, one of my favorite sounds. So you have extensions there, as you can see from the string organ, from the bombard strings, from the bombard post horn goes down to 32, and then the bright blue stops here are the only native ranks. So it actually only has 4 ranks. The orchestral pedal only has 4 ranks, but they're a huge diaphone, swell walled horn 32, unenclosed 8-foot tibia bass, and then the very softest 32. All of the 32s have, as you can see, indicator lights over there to the left. I'm a very big one for indicator lights. The bass has an indicator light.
When you perform, is your can the audience always see the organ on the screen, or do you sometimes have it so they can see it?
Well, the organ's almost always in a concert hall or a concert venue of some kind. So the first priority is to have the console itself as close as possible to the audience and visible to the audience. That's a basic thing that we do. In America, particularly, for American touring, the organ was always put on IMAG so that the console would be transmitted to a screen just as a static shot. That's something that we almost, not never, but rarely do in Europe. It just doesn't seem to be part of the aesthetic over here. But over here, it would be more typical to have the organ featured in a, as a solo act in a large concert hall. So basically, we can do either. We can do either way. And then, as I said, there's an echo organ which is comprised of certain stops in each division. That's the echo woodwind. There are some echo stops in each division. And typically, that's placed at the absolute extreme of the hall, so very, very far up in the back of the hall. And we can do all kinds of special things with it in terms of putting stuff far away, putting certain stops further away than others. There's the ending, the end result of what the organ is in the room is generally extremely consistent from venue to venue. That's also kind of what it's designed to do, so that we can adapt the infrastructure of the sound system to the hall, install it, and then voice the organ, and then go back and kind of adjust the sound system, and then go back and adjust the voicing. And in a typical touring, when the organ was on tour before COVID, that's how touring days would go. The organ usually would arrive, the truck would arrive at the hall at 9 a.m., 9 to 10, the truck is unloaded, and the console is assembled first, because the console divides into several sections. So you can see this dividing line here, where this section opens up. This whole middle section is in one case. So all of the keyboards and basically the computing heart of the console. The console is a separate computer system than the organ. So I can run the organ and the console separately. I can do diagnostic work on the organ without the console even being assembled, if the organ is available, or if even at least the racks are available. Of course, you don't even have to have the organ connected to the sound system to do that if needed. We can put sections of the organ online to chase problems if any come up. Or we can do the same. You can have the console assembled and playing through simply a single channel for rehearsal. For instance, you know, we have a rehearsal audio system where as soon as the computers are put on stage and the console's assembled, I can connect a single a near-field monitor to the organ, put it behind the expression pedals there on the floor, and I can be practicing merrily away on a miniature audio image of the organ while the stagehands assemble the rest of the organ and the crew assembles the rest of the organ. And you know, that way I can use the whole day for practice regardless of how long it takes the organ to be assembled, and we can also take the time we need to put the organ in, which usually takes several hours.